thought it'd make a lot of sense to include a clip for both of my DVDs on the Torre attack and the Colle Zuckertort. Blooming long names there. I mean, don't worry about the names. Hopefully the ideas will become clear once you've watched both DVDs. But I have noticed that there's a lot of a crossover between these two openings, and you're white, but your opponent can respond in different ways. So when should you use the Colle, and when is it more effective to use the Torre? And they really are brothers. They are really brothers. Maybe their older brother is the London system, and these are two dangerous little kids who are a rebellion, who are, you know, on the rebel against the D4 and C4 parents, the traditionalists. They don't want to go D4 and C4. No, we're going to be rebels. We're going to Colle and Torre it. So when is it useful to play the Colle, and when is it useful to play the Torre? Well, I'm going to try to sum that up now and explain what the difference is. Well, the first thing I should mention, as is the start of both of the DVDs I've done, and they are separate DVDs. You don't need to buy them both. They are brothers. They help each other if you get them both. But you will learn it a lot in just getting one of them. You know, it's not a con job. I'm just trying to tell you the best, give you the best that I can chess-wise from what I've learned. Well, the Torre attack comes about with a setup with knight f3 and then bishop g5. So this is the Torre. So on the surface, the Torre attack is more aggressive because your bishop flies out to the g5 square. So that is the Torre attack. Now the Colle, on the other hand, starts with the same two moves. d4, knight to f3, but after knight to f3, you keep your bishop for another purpose. And the Torre that we're looking at has gone by the name, sorry, the Colle we're looking at has gone by the name the Colle Zuckertort, where the bishop goes to b2. So one of the DVDs, the Torre, the bishop flies out to g5. In the Colle, it flies out to b2. So when is it, what systems is it worth playing these against? When and why? So in my personal opinion, against King's Indian, Grunfeld, Benoni, Benko setups, where black is looking for an aggressive game with the move g6, it is best to play bishop g5, the so-called Torre attack. So against g6 systems, bishop g5, in my opinion, makes a lot of sense. So if g6 is played here, my bishop would fly out to g5. Why is that the case? Because if you play e3 here, the bishop is going to be left passive, and really you need a point of contact for the Colle to work. Our point of contact is the pawn on d5, and we'll come to that in a second. But I would not play e3 against g6. I would be whipping the bishop out to g5. And this is very effective against aggressive players. You can play aggressively as white, you can play positionally as white, as I've discussed in the Torre DVD, but you're going to frustrate black a lot. So bishop g5 is my choice against g6 systems. But when is bishop g5 not so effective? Well, if black plays d5, let's say in this position, bishop g5 to me is not a very effective move, and you can't really gain much or any advantage. Now, I have looked at systems in the Torre DVD where we do this, but I don't really believe it as a way to get an advantage. And there's also other problems. If the move order d5, knight to f3, e6 is used here, bishop to g5 really doesn't promise anything, because bishop e7, and you're simplifying. But in this particular case, and in all cases where black plays a very early d5, then the Colle with e3 becomes much more effective. And I'd switch to the Colle, because when we go b3 and bishop here, this point of contact is very useful. And also, because there's a pawn on d5, maybe the most important point, knight to e5 is a lovely idea that gives us a grand attack. So my general rule is, if d5 is played, I mean, let's switch up the move order. It doesn't matter because we're doing the similar or the same patterns just against different responses. When, for example, knight f6 is played, e3, effective. And we can now go for our Colle system of attack, because this bishop, which might look sad, becomes very effective on the diagonal. It comes to life as such and gives us some grand attacking opportunities. So that is my basic way of thinking is, I mean, what about e6 here? I mean, what should you play against e6? Should you play the Colle? Is the Colle better? Or is bishop g5 better? I'm under the personal opinion after doing my research that they're both pretty equal. Bishop g5 is a bit more of an aggressive move where black can go wrong quite early, as we've seen some gambit lines with c5 and d5 that can already throw black into a bit of a brain spin. h6 is a main move, but as we saw here, if black plays in standard Nimzo fashion with c5 and taking on d4, we can often play a very crafty plan by taking on f6. So I think it depends. If you look at both DVDs, I mean, they're both equal, I think, against the Nimzo setup. Because the other way you can play, this basically bishop g5 has a point of contact straight away. But if we go e3 and we play it with bishop b2, it doesn't mean it's less effective. It just means it's going to be a longer game, and maybe you prefer your bishop in this diagonal. You really have to decide for yourself. I think in these systems they're equally as good. And that's really what I want to say about the Colle and the Torre and how these DVDs relate to each other. You can play one of these openings against everything, but I play the Colle against d5. I think that would be very effective. And I play the Torre against aggressive King's Indian defense players. And I'm sure once you've watched even one of the DVDs, you'll understand my thought process in much more detail. And I hope that has helped you a little bit and not just confused you more. That would be a not very good teaching job, would it? But yeah, that's my thought process about these openings.